partners with multiple agencies have responded to reports of an active shooter situation at the Mandalay Bay. I can tell you at this time, we do have a suspect down. Our officers can confirm that for you. But I understand the people of Las Vegas want to help. I see a lot of people out here that are coming down wanting to help. Please steer clear of the area. We have all the resources from Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department as well as our partner agencies coming down to bear on this situation. So please stay away from the area. We have had reports of people coming down trying to help. We got that, so we're good right now. But we have numerous victims right now. I don't have a number for you on that, but please keep their families and them in your thoughts as we work our way through this problem. Once I have more information to come back, I will come back and give you that information at this time. But as of now, what I can confirm is we do have one suspect down, and we want people to steer clear of the area. Thank you.
Are there other suspects?
Two other security guards, some other civilians. We all gave hands helping transport bodies. There was a lot of people that were shot, unfortunately. It just sucks that something like this will happen in such a peaceful event.
Britton, for you guys don't know, he's former Special Forces with the Marines. You're working security tonight. You obviously have familiarity with this. We've heard all these different reports in situations like this. When you have a fluid situation like this, sometimes it's not as bad as it sounds. But from what we can tell from talking to police and seeing the response and hearing your story, this sounds brutal.
Yes, it was bad. Correction, I'm not Special Forces. I was in the Marine Corps. But it was bad, you know. It was multiple people hit. A lot of people shot. The area that we had for medics that was set up for the event was completely flooded with people. I myself carried, with other people, we carried at least 4 or 5 people to the EMT area.
Were they shot and all of them shot? Were they hurt from other ways?
You had 2 people that I know for sure that were trampled. A few others, like I said, the one gentleman was shot top of the head. Another gentleman was shot in the leg. A lady was shot in her side. There was another lady that caught another round to the side of her head. It was an ugly scene.
And we're hearing from a high level. I've been told a police officer was shot again. A lot of stuff is still fluid. That the gunman or gunmen, and maybe 2, were shooting from possibly as high up as the 30th floor. Being former military, do you think did it seem like it was coming from above?
What we were told from what everyone heard was the shooter was coming from the Mandalay Bay on the 20th floor.
Okay.
They said that cops seen where the actual spectrum light was shining from where the jump or whoever was shooting, and they said it was another shooter that had made his way over to the Tropicana parking lot. Somehow he made it inside the building.
So
by the name of Mary Hanley. 2 other security guards, some other civilians. We all gave hands helping transport bodies. There was a lot of people that were shot, unfortunately. It just sucks that something like this will happen in such a peaceful event.
Britton, for you guys don't know, he's former Special Forces with the Marines. You're working security tonight. You obviously have familiarity with this. We've heard all these different reports in situations like this. When you have a fluid situation like this, sometimes it's not as bad as it sounds. But from what we can tell from talking to police and seeing the response and hearing your story, this sounds brutal.
Yes, it was bad. Correction, I'm not Special Forces. I was in the Marine Corps. But it was bad, you know. It was multiple people hit. A lot of people shot. The area that we had for medics that was set up for the event was completely flooded with people. I myself carried, with other people, we carried at least 4 or 5 people to the EMT area.
Were they shot and all of them shot? Were they hurt from other ways?
You had 2 people that I know for sure that were trampled. A few others, like I said, the one gentleman was shot top of the head. Another gentleman was shot in the leg. A lady was shot in her side. There was another lady that caught another round to the side of her head. It was an ugly scene.
And we're hearing from a high level. I've been told a police officer was shot again. A lot of stuff is still fluid. That the gunman or gunmen, and maybe 2, were shooting from possibly as high up as the 30th floor. Being former military, do you think did it seem like it was coming from above?
What we were told from what everyone heard was the shooter was coming from the Mandalay Bay on the 20th floor.
Okay.
They said that cops seen where the actual spectrum light was shining from where the jump or whoever was shooting, and they said it was another shooter that had made his way over to the Tropicana parking lot. Somehow he made it inside the building.
So that's just down the street. Again, we're hearing all sorts of different reports. This may or may not be true that he made it down there, but the other thing I want to ask you also. Yes, I'm talking in my ear. Also, when you saw these people coming in and out, I mean, how many ambulances have been leaving? I mean, what's it been like the last half an hour, 45 minutes here?
I would say about anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, you're looking at anywhere between like 4 to 5 ambulance coming in and out.
This is the Mandalay Bay building and the scene of the shooting.
Welcome to this live breaking news edition of Hannity. Tonight, America in a state of shock after a madman opened fire on a country music festival in Las Vegas, killing now 59, injuring 527 others in the most deadly mass shooting in American history. Authorities are now working around the clock to assist the victims and determine a motive. Catherine Herridge, Jonathan Hunt, Claudia Cowan, Trace Gallagher, all on the ground tonight. They have the very latest. Also, Laura Ingram, Sebastian Gorkin, David Clark, John Rich, Kaya Jones. They were on stage just before all this happened, and eyewitnesses will all join us. But first, here is how it all went down.
My fellow Americans, we are joined together today in sadness, shock, and grief. We had calls come into dispatch of multiple shots being fired from the direction of the Mandalay Bay towards the Route 91 concert.
Everyone was just like literally laying on top of each other, trying to get out of the way. And the shots just kept coming.
Every time there was a break, we ran. And we ran.
My husband and I ran out toward our car, and there were people hiding underneath my car for cover.
There was multiple people hit, a lot of people shot. The area that we had for medics that was set up for the event was completely flooded with people.
May God bless the souls of the lives that are lost. May God give us the grace of healing, and may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on.
But first, in the midst of tragedy, the rush to politicize the worst shooting in American history is shameful. Now, the left has no shame, and that is tonight's very, very important live opening monologue. So in the wake of the worst mass shooting in American history, President Trump, he offered his deepest condolences, and he addressed the nation about this tragedy earlier today. And here's what he said.
Last night, a gunman opened fire on a large crowd at a country music concert in Las Vegas, Nevada. He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil.
Now, President Trump also held a moment of silence at the White House for the victims of this Vegas shooting, and he plans to go visit the city Wednesday after traveling to Puerto Rico. That's scheduled for tomorrow. Now, while the president is trying to console the nation and offer support to the city of Las Vegas and the country, the media, Democrats, have rushed to politicize this tragedy in an absolutely despicable display. Let's take a look right there at the side of your screen. We must warn you, the images you're watching, they are heartbreaking, horrifying, lives shattered, dreams destroyed. Now, some of these victims are still in the hospital, clinging to life. We still don't have all the facts. You know what? Bodies weren't even in the morgue yet. Parents were in hospitals with their kids that are hanging on to life. None of this mattered to the left in this country. Their impulse to politicize this tragedy, as they do other tragedies, is beyond the pale. They're using this tragedy, why? To score cheap political points and push a gun control agenda. Don't believe me? Watch this.
I want to bring Commissioner Bratton back in. When you hear this, these very relaxed gun laws in the state of Nevada, how do the police protect against this?
They don't. In terms of what you just described is in some respects reflection, description of insanity, but that's the reality.
One more time, the description of insanity.
Terrorism, violence, how it happens elsewhere. Here, it's because of accessibility of a certain weaponry. So I'd be remiss not mentioning it now. I know it's highly political, but as a security person, this is, I'm looking at the access issue and looking at these numbers and absolutely shocked and outraged that for some reason we're not allowed to talk about that.
This is
is going to reopen the debate over guns in this country.
Well, it is, but I think it's really important to make sure we do it accurately.
I think this is time for a national dialogue that we can have in a calm and reasoned way in which the country can figure out how come we have so many mass shootings in this country. We can't have that conversation because it immediately becomes so emotional between the gun owners of America who are protected by the NRA and other people who are saying there ought to be a more reasonable middle ground.
Now, this isn't bad enough. Look at some of the tweets. Look at these statements coming from Democrats calling again for gun control just within hours after the massacre happened. This is so shameful. Elizabeth Warren, thoughts and prayers, they're not enough. Not when moms and dads will bury kids this week and more sons and daughters will grow up without parents. Nancy Pelosi, she's out there calling on Speaker Paul Ryan to create a select committee to examine gun violence in America. Hillary Clinton, she took things further, going after the NRA. Here's what she tweeted, quote, "Our grief isn't enough. We can and must put politics aside and stand up to the NRA and work together to try and stop all of this from happening again. Beyond disgusting, inappropriate, and pathetic." Now, Clinton weighed in less than 9 hours after this shooting and went deep into the gutter of politics she says she doesn't want to play. Here's my question. Do they have any decency? Any thoughts about the families? We don't know the details yet, but this is their initial impulse. Keep watching the images on the side of your screen tonight. Has anyone on the left criticized Hillary or other Democrats for making this point? I don't see it. Imagine if the president today brought up the Second Amendment. How would the news media in this country have reacted? We don't know the motivation of this lunatic. We know it was premeditated. We know it's evil. I can make 100 different arguments. If it wasn't a gun, it would be a car or a bomb or whatever. The only thing that Democrats should be focused on tonight, the country needs to be focused on, the victims that are in the hospital, their families, and the investigation, because we don't have facts. But instead, they couldn't even wait a half a day to play politics. Shameful. And members of the media, they're also going directly after the victims. Liberal CNN, Jeff Zeleny suggested the only person President Trump is, the only reason he's going to Vegas is because the victims in the audience may have been his supporters. Really? That's pretty twisted and very sick. Watch.
Of course, Las Vegas is a town that he is connected to and knows well. His name is emblazoned on the top of a hotel there as well. He campaigned there a lot. So this is something that I'm not surprised at all to see him go there visiting early. Something else I think to keep in mind, a lot of these country music supporters were likely Trump supporters, and this is something that, of course...
Some heroes all around us after the heinous act in Las Vegas, and my next guest, a U.S. Marine veteran, did what he could to help the victims. Taylor Winston with me now, and sir, good morning from Las Vegas. Nevada's your home, but you served in San Diego with the U.S. Marine Corps, and I want to share with our viewers here a video you were taking on your phone. You're with your girlfriend, Jen Lewis, at the time. This is moments before the shots rang out, and this is video that we got from you, and we're showing it to our viewers now. At the moment the shots were fired, you start to scramble, as do tens of thousands of people. You run into a parking lot, find a pickup truck, and do what?
Well, essentially, the first initial instinct was fear, and was just yelling at everyone to keep their head down and get away from the gunfire. And we got pinned against a fence and started throwing people over a fence, and people were getting shot all around, and it was quite horrific, and not much you could do. Once we got over the fence, I saw a parking lot actually just behind me over here with work trucks, and typically during a festival, multiple people use a truck and they tend to leave keys, and I was hoping that was the case, and lucked out on the first truck, opened the door, and the keys were there, and looked at Jen and said, let's go get some people. And so we went back towards gunfire, and
you had an angel working for you to find the keys in the truck, the first one you tried. And then you started to transport how many people to a local hospital?
Each trip was 10 to 15 people, as many as we could cram in there. We were just trying to go down the line of the dozens and dozens of people that were already being pulled out to the street. Torso wounds, limbs, neck, everyone was just critically injured, and there was blood everywhere. And it was really hard to just pack up and leave because, you know, you can only fit so many people, and there's so many people that still needed help, and no ambulances were on scene yet.
How many people do you think you got to the hospital, Taylor?
I'd say between 20 and 30.
Wow. How many trips?
We did 2 full trips. We went back a 3rd time, and we had to convince the cops to let us in to try to go get more people. Once we did get in, there was a lot less critically injured that were not being tended to, so we felt we were good to turn it over to the people who were there and trained for the situation, and we then went and linked up with friends after.
I imagine by then the ambulances were in full response mode too. Have you been able to process what you have gone through yourself?
I think fortunate to be a little more headstrong than a lot. It's reality, and unfortunately terrorism exists. I just hope it doesn't keep people from enjoying events like these. They're the best time of the year for many families and friends.
Can't disagree with that. How's your girlfriend?
She's doing fine. She actually has 2 broken vertebrae and a fractured rib that's dislocated as well, and she was helping throw people in the vehicle. That injury was prior to the night events. So she was very strong and helped out a lot, so I'm glad she was there.
Our best to her and to you, Taylor Winston, and thank you for your service, Marine.
Thank you for having me, Bill.
Bravery. The unarmed security guard who was the first to find the shooter's room has been identified. His name is Jesus Campos. Now, his bravery also likely saved countless lives here.
His story is incredible, and he's talking about surviving hundreds of shots being fired at him. Marissa Kinniston has his story of heroism.
Security guard Jesus Campos was only carrying a nightstick while he was on random patrol Sunday night in Mandalay Bay. At the same time, Stephen Paddock was in his hotel room firing onto the festival crowd.
He was personally attempting to locate what was occurring.
In a matter of minutes, Campos tracked down Paddock's hotel room. Campos had no gun, and he was all alone, not even close to a fair fight, when the inside of Paddock's hotel room looked like this. Paddock had cameras looking outside, and he noticed Campos coming. That's when he turned his gun away from the festival and towards Campos, firing 200 rounds into the hallway.
He was shot in the right thigh.
Campos immediately radioed into police that he found the location, and they were there within seconds. Officials say without the help from Campos, they may not have found Paddock as quickly as they did. Campos told ABC News, "I was just doing my job."
Mike, maybe you can just tell me your story. I mean, where were you tonight?
We were at the Route 91 concert, and been there all day, waiting for Jason Aldean, and real surreal, actually. You know, everybody's having a good time, and then all of a sudden you hear some popping going on, and I don't think anybody really understood what it was. And then my buddy, after a little bit of popping, my buddy's like, "I got hit." So my buddy got shot 3 times, and then everybody knew there was a shooter, so everybody pretty much dove on top of each other, cut down.
You're here on your 48th birthday trip. You're a retired teacher, and you came with your best friend, and he took 3 bullets to the chest, as close as I am to you right now.
True. It was hard. You know, I saw him there, and I was like, I wasn't going to leave him, so we had to, you know, there was an EMT there. Somebody was an EMT. There was lots of, you know, awesome ex-military people that were trained, so we got him compressed, and that's, you know, kept compression on his chest. He actually put his finger in the hole, you know, so we, you know, don't move your finger, and we could keep the compression on, and probably stayed like that for at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes before we finally made a decision that we needed to get him over the fence so we get him under the stage, so at least we knew we were safe dealing with him.
And so you and 3 other guys had to physically haul him over a fence in order to get him under the stage and to a protected area.
Yeah, we got him over and then slid him under the stage, and we were under there, and another awesome lady came over and helped compress, and so there's, you know, I am no hero, but there was tons of heroes out there there's a lot of heroes out there.
It's pretty astonishing to think that you guys were physically plugging his bullet wounds with your fingers.
Yeah, Rob, it was my friend Rob, he had his finger in the...
We got a piece of good news a few minutes ago, though. Your friend Rob, the one who was shot 3 times, including bullets to the chest, his daughter texted you.
Yep.
What did she say?
He said, "Hey, Dad Dad talked to us, said he's going to be okay. So it took a load off me, but still, you know, so many other people. I mean, it could have been me. I was right next to my buddy. It could have been me that got shot. So
we're on the ground in Vegas tonight where 59 people have died. 527 literally were injured. 527 people, innocent civilians, Americans. And of course, after a madman went on a rampage during a country music festival. So tonight, authorities are still working to determine the motive behind this shooting. But here's what we know so far about this madman. His name is Stephen Paddock. According to his brother, he was a multi-millionaire who was a frequent gambler. There are also reports that the gunman's father was a convicted bank robber, once had been on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. And according to authorities, Paddock extensively planned this massacre. There's also newly released video of the hotel room crime scene where you can see the guns that Paddock used to carry out this deadly attack laying on the ground. And according to police, 23 guns were found in the room, including some that were modified in order to fire like an automatic weapon. And according to reports, Paddock, he set up a camera inside the hotel room to actually film his rampage. He also, by the way, set up security footage, and we're asking the hotel tonight, release this. The American people deserve to see what happened. Police also saying that Paddock put a camera inside of a food cart that was left outside of his room in the hallway so he could see if any police were coming. And also tonight, we're learning more about the shooter's girlfriend. Her name, Mary Lou Danley, who authorities are now saying is a person of interest. Sources are telling Fox News that Paddock sent thousands of dollars overseas that may have been for his girlfriend, as she is currently traveling in the Philippines. However, it remains unclear who actually received this money. And U.S. government sources are telling Fox News that investigators have interviewed an immediate relative of Stephen Paddock's girlfriend. This relative described the gunman as, quote, unstable, and said he made them feel very uncomfortable. We'll have much more on the possible motive all throughout this hour tonight. But first, Democrats, liberals in the mainstream media, celebrities, late-night comedians, all predictably rushing to politicize this tragedy and predictably calling for more gun control. And we're going to get to those examples in a second. But unlike them, we have promised you on this show, we care about truth, we care about facts, we care about victims and families, and we're not peddling conspiracy theories or rushing to judgment. We're not trying to use this incident to score cheap political points. Now, it's probably why we almost doubled our competitors in the ratings last night. The American people, you can no longer trust these people in the mainstream media. It is sad. Journalism in America is dead. Now, yesterday, we told you, for example, liberal CNN reporter Jeff Zeleny, he said the only reason that President Trump cares about the Vegas shooting is because the victims were probably his supporters. We also told you about CBS having to fire one of their lawyers. Why? For mocking the shooting victims and not even caring. Well, tonight, unfortunately, things are getting much worse. Now, before we show you these grotesque and appalling examples, I want you to watch this ever so powerful video. This is from the concert last night. About an hour before the shooting took place, almost 30,000 people in that crowd. My friends, big and rich, led the crowd, honored the military. Almost everyone in the crowd raising their phone with their light and singing collectively. God bless America. Watch this powerful video.
Come on, baby, say
So powerful, so necessary. We all need to come together like the people in that crowd did 1 hour before that massacre. They weren't Republicans or Democrats, liberals or conservatives, Americans singing God Bless America. Now, I'm going to get back to my monologue in just a second. There is a press conference going on at this hour. We want to get the latest information. We'll head to that and come back to our monologue.
Make it very clear to you that I need some patience from you. This investigation is a long time from being concluded. We recently went down to the Mandalay Bay. I can tell you that we're days away from completion of the processing of that room. We're getting very close to the completion of the processing
of the site. We have a significant amount of time left there as well. However, the southbound portion of Las Vegas Boulevard is now completely open. We are also working diligently as we speak. I believe we just opened up 2 of the northbound lanes, and the completion of the northbound lanes should occur sometime this evening. So, bearing in mind that the investigation is dynamic, ongoing, continuing, and I don't have a lot of answers for you yet, and clearly understanding that nobody wants answers to why more than the police and the victims' families. But we have a responsibility to get it right, and so that's why it's going to take time, and that's why we're going to take that time. However, there's some, I guess, at best, interesting reporting about how long the shooting lasted and how long it took us to get into the room. First question is, how long did the actual shooting last? I'm prepared to give you some information on that, and the first call came into our dispatch center at 10:08 p.m. about shots being fired. The suspect, I can tell you that we know now that he fired off and on for somewhere between 9 and 11 minutes. We know that the suspect fired over a dozen or so volleys, and we know that the firing by the suspect ceased at 10:19. So I want you to think about that. The first minute the police are aware of shots being fired at 10:08, and it stops at 10:19. That's a remarkable response by this police department. Also, another question that came up, how long was it before our SWAT team entered the suspect's room? Somebody said you heard that it was 72 minutes, and if why so long? As I just mentioned to you, and as the sheriff mentioned previously in the briefing, we had patrol officers actually working another event at the Mandalay Bay who heard the shooting, and they took it upon themselves to form up into a team, enter the stairwell, begin ascending the floors, and also evacuate hotel guests. The SWAT team had to arrive first at the Mandalay Bay before they could take any action. As I mentioned earlier, there was a very heroic security guard who was shot during the search for that suspect. That security guard went up to the room. He was advancing towards the room when the suspect fired through the door at the security guard and struck him. He was able to provide additional information to the police on exactly which room that we were looking at. However, at that time, it's important to note that the shooting had stopped. We're considering it a barricade at that point because it's no longer an active shooter. We're not hearing any further shots. The floors had already been evacuated of the guests. The suspect was now isolated and contained within a room. At the point that the SWAT team made their decision based on when it was appropriate to enter. I want to make it clear again to you that while there was that slight delay, the suspect was no longer firing into the crowd. There was a question about the validity of the crime scene photos that somebody had leaked. I can confirm those are, in fact, photos from inside of the room. They're, in fact, photos of our suspect. And as the sheriff mentioned previously, we have all opened up an internal investigation to determine the source of the leaks of those photos to the public. You asked what we found in the suspect's room, and the sheriff spoke a little bit about cameras being located. To clarify, there were 2 cameras located in the hallway so that the suspect could watch as law enforcement or security approached his room. And there was another camera placed inside the hotel room door peephole so that he could see down the hallway. At this point, you had a number of questions about the weapons, and the SAC from the ATF to my right, Jill Schneider, will answer or provide a statement to you, but not take any questions.
Good evening. I'm Special Agent in Charge Jill Snyder of ATF San Francisco Field Division. Special agents from the San Francisco Field Division's Las Vegas Field Office responded to the shooting that occurred on Sunday. Additional agents from other locations within the San Francisco Field Division, as well as agents from ATF's Los Angeles, Dallas, Phoenix, and Boston Field Divisions have been working on this investigation. We know that you have many questions regarding the firearms in this case. There's also been a lot of unofficial information being reported regarding the guns. We'd like to clear up any conflicting information regarding the number of firearms and the current status of the trace information. Please understand that this investigation is ongoing, and I won't be taking questions at this time because we're still working through all of our investigative findings, but I'll give you the facts that we have as of this time. Currently, 47 firearms have been recovered. These firearms were recovered from 3 different locations. Those locations consisted of the hotel room, as well as Verde and Mesquite, Nevada. They were purchased in Nevada, Utah, California, and Texas. The gunman purchased rifles, shotguns, and pistols. At this time, none of the guns recovered appear to be homemade. There were 12 bump fire stocks identified on the firearms in the hotel room. The ATF Firearms and Ammunition Technology Division provides determinations on devices such as bump fire stocks and their legality. The classification of these devices depends on whether they mechanically alter the function of the firearm to fire fully automatic. Bump fire stocks, while simulating automatic fire, do not actually alter the firearm to fire automatically, making them legal under current federal law. It is still being determined which firearms were used in the shooting. All of the firearms have been traced. We are still awaiting the results from some of the firearms that were located at the Mesquite residence. As the investigation proceeds, ATF will continue to conduct interviews and provide our resources and full support to the sheriff and all our local law enforcement partners. Thank you.
As this investigation continues on, we continue to hear stories of heroics by police officers, first responders, and average citizens alike. I commend all of their actions as they showed immense courage in the face of extreme danger. I want to mention that one of those brave people was Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Officer Charleston Hartfield. Officer Hartfield was at the Route 91 concert that night along with his wife when shots rang out. Even though Officer